house to go to Bible study. She told her parents, Jim and Cheryl, that she would be home in time for dinner at approximately 6:30. Zoe had recently graduated high school the previous year, and she was preparing to go on a mission trip with her church in November. doors of the minivan, except for the driver's door, were all locked. They discovered a knife that was covered in blood at the top of the embankment. It was described in one account as a pocket knife, and police believe that this was the knife that was used on Zoe. Zoe's phone gave the police a timeline in which to work. Her phone was at the creek, and location service data on the phone revealed it was there from 5:01 p.m. on Sunday, and that it remained there until Monday morning, when she was discovered. During the course of their investigation, police discovered that after Zoe had left the house, she'd stopped at a Walgreens on Garland Road to return a Redbox movie. The Walgreens was in fact close enough to her home that you could see her house from the parking lot. She dropped the movie back at the Redbox at 4:42 p.m. So what happened to her after that, and why didn't she make it to Bible study at 5? Two witnesses came forward. They told the police that they had observed a woman in a minivan outside of the Walgreens. One of the men claimed he saw an African-American man rapidly approach her. They got into the minivan after a short conversation and drove off. He told the police that the man was driving. The second witness told the police that he saw the man approach the woman, and it looked as though he had something in his hand. The man said something to her, and they both got into the minivan, and the man drove off quickly. DNA was obtained from the knife found at the creek, and the police got a match, not just from Zoe. It matched a man whose DNA was already in the database, and his name was Antonio Cochran. When the police found Antonio, he denied any involvement in Zoe's murder, but due to the DNA results and the accounts of the two witnesses, he was charged with capital murder based on the murder of Zoe in the course of committing or attempting to commit a kidnapping. Major Max Guerin of the Dallas Police Department described Antonio as an obviously sexual predator that's been taken off the streets. Police believe that this was a random attack and that he did not know Zoe prior to her abduction. When his trial began, Antonio pled not guilty. Of course he did. It was the prosecution's case that Zoe had left her home that Sunday to go to Bible study. She'd stopped at the Walgreens across the street from her house to drop the Redbox movie back. The court heard that the prosecution believed she was abducted from the car park there just as she was about to get into the minivan. That belief was corroborated by the two witnesses, and those witnesses were present in court to give testimony. The first witness, Lester Lee Clark, said that he worked as a tattoo artist in the tattoo parlor located near the intersection of Garland Road and Peavy Road, and he was walking towards the Walgreens at about 4:45 to buy a pack of cigarettes. He told the jury he saw a woman who was either returning a movie or getting one from the Redbox kiosk, headed back towards her minivan. He observed that as she was about to get in the car, a short, heavy-set was walking in an aggressively sneaky way. He believed that he was trying not to cause too much attention. Gary testified the man approached the woman from behind as she was trying to get in the van. He told the court that the man put his arms out to stop her from getting away, and he believed that he took something from his pocket, although he couldn't see what it was. He saw them both get into the minivan and testified that the man had drove off. The court heard that Gary had tried to get help, but as he had no access to a phone, he had asked an employee at the Walgreens to call 911. Prosecution told the jury that they believed that the man that the two men saw was Antonio Cochran, and that they had further evidence, DNA evidence, to prove the same. The court heard that multiple hairs were collected from the crime scene and examined, and that the DNA analysis determined that Antonio's mitochondrial DNA profile could not be excluded from a hair found in Zoe's hand. Gloria Jean Diminick, a mitochondrial DNA analyst, testified that mitochondrial DNA is not a unique identifier. It cannot identify a particular individual, but it can be used to exclude people. The prosecution said that after Antonio abducted Zoe, he drove to the creek, assaulted her, and then killed her. The jury heard that the knife was found at the creek, and that Antonio's DNA was found on the handle, and the knife had been covered in Zoe's blood. Zoe's mother testified. She told the jury that when they traced her phone to the creek, they had gone straight there. They had seen the police and instantly knew something was not right. She testified that her own daughter had been assaulted and murdered, and because of this, she had become an SA trauma nurse. She wanted to help other people that had gone through what her daughter had gone through. The court heard that the cell phone data placed Antonio at the crime scene. Prior to Zoe's abduction, he had sent a number of text messages to various people. He had sent a text to his housemate and said that he was moving out. He had sent a text to his ex-girlfriend and told her that someone that they had both known had died the day before. It was a woman named Rena who was like a mother to him, and he really appeared distraught. Not that that is making any excuses. He sent texts at 2:25 and 3:29 p.m. to a woman named Mimi. He told her he'd been drinking and driving and crying. No text messages were sent between 3:19 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on that Sunday. At 4:34, Antonio's cell phone communicated with a particular transceiver on a radio tower in Dallas, and this area covered the Walgreens store. At just after 9:30 p.m. that Sunday, he sent a text message to his housemate's brother. "I really need you. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not doing well. Too much has happened. I need you." The court heard Antonio had started a new job as a checker at a Fiesta Mart grocery store just 2 days before Zoe's murder. He was scheduled to work the Monday after Zoe's death, but he did not show up. The court also heard about web searches that had been carried out on Antonio's phone. Between the 13th and 23rd of October, which was the day before he was arrested, he searched local news and crime 32 times, and 5 times on subjects related to Zoe's death, as in a Daily Mail article about gang crime. The court heard about Zoe's injuries and the cuts to her neck. She had been cut 6 times, but the testimony in relation, to the assault, the essay by the medical examiner, came as a surprise to many when he testified that he found no evidence of trauma that would suggest that she had been assaulted. So I don't know if because she was clearly unclothed, if she struggled too much, or either way, Jim talked about his firstborn. He sometimes faced Antonio when he talked about how Zoe had been ripped from their lives. And at one point he told him, "I hope you remember my face." Jim described how he and his wife had to explain to their 4 younger children that a bad man had killed their sister. He said that his son wailed and hasn't spoken to his father about Zoe since. "It is extremely hard to tell my children that they are going to be safe," Jim said. He asked the jury to send Antonio to prison for the rest of his life. "I believe if he gets out of prison, he is going to do the same thing to someone else. And I would hate that my daughter died, and he goes and does it to someone else." At first, jurors appeared deadlocked on whether prosecutors proved that Antonio had kidnapped and killed Zoe. Kidnapped means that it's a key element to finding him guilty of capital murder. They deliberated for nearly 23 hours over several days. And during that time, they asked the judge for further details / clarification on 3 points. They asked to see a picture of the Walgreens. They asked about mitochondrial DNA. And they asked about the time frame of police interviews with the 2 men who testified that they saw a man fitting Antonio's description with Zoe at the minivan. The jury found Antonio guilty of a lesser included offense of murder instead of capital murder. It took them just 6 minutes to decide his sentence. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole and a $10,000 fine. Zoe's family issued a statement after her death. They said, quote, "We are devastated at the loss of our daughter Zoe. Today we express our gratitude to local law enforcement, officials, and loved ones who have helped our family. Our Zoe was full of love and light. She was full of talent. She was happy and joyful. She is loved by her parents and her siblings. She is loved by the Lord Jesus Christ, and she loved serving others. She was planning to serve a mission to share this message of the Savior's love with others. It pains us to know that her life has been taken, yet we feel comfort in knowing our family is forever and we will be together again someday. We are grateful for the privacy and respect given to us during this extremely difficult time. Please continue to pray for our family. We appreciate and need your support." After the trial, it was revealed that this was not Antonio's first rodeo. He had a history of arrests and convictions, including assault, theft, and burglary. He'd been arrested in February of 2014 in Bowie County, Texas. He was accused of assaulting a teenage girl, and the case had been sent forward for a trial. She testified at trial that Antonio had been in a relationship with her mother, and he'd offered to give her a ride. She told the court he threatened to kill her in the car, drove to a wooded area, and then assaulted her. During the assault, residents who lived nearby approached the car with flashlights. They had been on alert due to a number of burglaries in the area. They called 911 and Antonio was arrested. At his trial for that case, which took place in January of 2015, the defense claimed that it was consensual and he had been found not guilty. So he had not gone to jail. So, sorry, my voice has been super raspy the past couple days. This is another one of those cases where I feel as though it was a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing, which I think is like you just walk this across the street home. And maybe she was so freaked out that that thought never occurred to her. I don't know if he actually had time to assault her, but it doesn't matter. He still then killed her, and that is extremely unfortunate. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. I can hear the train coming by, and I can hear my neighbors getting started mowing their lawn, so I am going to cut this a little short by telling you I love each and every one of you. If you're still listening, please like this video and comment down below to get my content out to other people that may not have found it yet. If you are looking for more regular content from me, definitely check out my Patreon. I put a new video out there every single week, and you can join us for as low as $2 a month.